Hi, and welcome to Auntie K's Tarot. We are here today with another tarot reading help. So we have a tarot question that a friend, as we are calling folks sending in questions, sent in, that they did a reading and they really struggled to grasp what the tarot was talking about to them in relation to their reading. And so we actually have two readings to go through here. So they did this reading and they said, and I really didn't get it. And that reminds me of the reading I did back in August, so 6 months ago. I did a similar reading and I still didn't get it. So here's the deal. My friend has been wondering, am I going to live in this home in this province for a long period of time? Is it going to be long-term or short-term? And she did a reading this past week about, wondering about this, and did a reading on a to-do list for her home. And it didn't make sense to her. And this reading that she did 6 months ago is the horseshoe reading, and it's on the energy in relation to her home. So, and it's still, the answers didn't make sense in this reading either, leaving her with these two readings, leaving her more confused than ever. And my friend's saying, I don't understand these readings. And I said, well, you didn't ask the question you were thinking about when either you were asking the reading or when you're reading the reading. You want to know, are you going to stay in this home long term or short term? And you asked a completely different question. And the tarot did its very best. And we do see information and guidance that is useful to this concern, as she's done these two separate readings about the energy in her home and the to-do list with her home. But they aren't actually the questions the answer she's looking for in the cards. And so we're going to go through this and see how the answer isn't in the cards, but there is information there in the cards about this concern. And then I'm going to do a reading that is probably a better choice for this concern about whether my friend's going to live somewhere short-term or long-term. We are using Kaleidodope Tarot for the readings that my friend pulled, and I'm going to use the Gentle Tarot for the reading that I pull. I did do a walkthrough last night of the Gentle Tarot, but it didn't upload. It failed to upload. And I just realized that when I came on here to do this video. So I'm going to upload one and then try and upload the other. But the Gentle Tarot is amazing, and definitely check it out. Okay, so we're going to look at the first reading. Not the first one. She sent me the first reading of the two. The one done 6 months ago. The energy in my home is a horseshoe spread. I've got the 7th card set aside to talk about. Plus, I don't really have a setup here to show 7 cards on video. Something I want to figure out. But, so we are going to look at these and go through these. So the very first card is about past influences. And my friend drew the 7 of Wands. And she says, it took courage for me to move to the woods and into another province. You know, she moved basically across the continent. This was a big step. And so I think that's what this card is about. And it is. But I think the importance of showing us the 7 of Wands is the 7 of Wands isn't just about the courage it takes to do a big thing and the strength and the stamina and the success of doing it. The Seven of Wands reminds us that we have overcome many big things and are going to continue. We've just come over one hurdle and are taking a big long breath. And so moving to the woods was one of many steps of building a home in the woods, all out on, doing their own thing. And this card particularly shows that they are overcoming one barrier in an obstacle course, and moving and uprooting your life and replanting it somewhere else, and in a very different environment and in way of being than what you lived previously is one of many steps. There's many things to occur in such a journey. All right. So the next step, the next one is the Emperor. Options and alternatives. The Emperor is about systems and structures. It's also a paternal card, a card about our family traditions and where we came from and what we grew up knowing. So the options and the alternatives are to remain in an area she grew up knowing, to remain in a part of the continent she knew, with its own like flavor, and around family, around extended family, and the supports that offers, and a life that she knew, that was what she experienced growing up. Is her household's personal family tradition. And that was the alternative to moving somewhere completely different and from an urban life to like a very rural life. That was the options, and the alternatives was what you know, and what you grew up knowing. So the next card up is 3, stability, and my friend drew the 4 of Pentacles and said, yeah, 4 of Pentacles, I am really stable. It's true. I have, all the things the 4 of Pentacles has. And the thing about the 4 of Pentacles is the 4 of Pentacles has a great deal of insecurity about their stability. So yes, my friend is stable, but my friend has a great deal of insecurity about this, about her stability, and this shows in the whole question that is unasked in this reading. Am I going to live here long term or short term? Is there stability? Yes, there's stability, but you don't you don't feel that stability. You don't trust that stability. You're wondering if that stability is going to disappear. And that's what the 4 of Pentacles is really about. You're wondering if the stability is going to disappear. Why? Because you left the systems and structures and stability that you knew for something completely different, and overcame great hurdles to get to this place. But it was one of many. It's a path of adventure. It's a path of building something completely different than how you grew up. And yet you have stability. So it's time to trust it. Challenges. The 4 of Swords. So the challenge is to find rest. Well, that's not particularly surprising. when you don't trust the stability you have to last. It would be very difficult to find rest if you're constantly worried that the stability you currently have won't last. You know, my friend is also a parent, so yes, they are having difficulty finding time to rest and recoup right now, but that's pretty common as a parent, and that's that time passes. That time passes. It really pushes us to find ways to do that in micro ways and in new ways and in doing the mundane. But also, it's exceptionally hard to find rest if you don't trust the stability you're experiencing. Stability provides time to rest, emotionally and mentally, but you have to trust it in order to actually rest and do that. Okay, so the next card up in this drawing was 5, help or hinder, and got the 7 of Wands. And my friend says, yes, my ability to keep going will help me. Yeah. Your ability to keep going will help you. And that is a help or a hindrance. Also, your will drives the direction that you're going in. And in a classic tarot card, and the deck they used has a fairly classic set of images. You have a sphinx or lions or cats looking in 2 different directions. I keep looking over here because I have a deck that shows that. Because you know what? When your will is driving you, it might decide that it's going in another direction. And your ability to keep going will help you. Will also be a hindrance if you think it means you must keep going in a straight line nonstop all the time. It doesn't. Your will should be based on your hopes and your dreams and your desires and your experience of the present, and in what you want in the present you're about to experience, and where you want to go with that. And you might decide in 10 or 20 years that you want to live somewhere else, but and your will hopefully will decide and drive you in the right direction at that time. But there's so many variables between then and now that it's hard to actually see where your will is going to go from the experiences you've yet to experience, and how you're actually going to choose to opt to deal with them, and you know what you're going to experience coming in from other people's will. These things are you haven't made definite ripples in them, but in fact you're not making definite ripples anywhere because you're not sure where you want them to go. Really, they just spread out from the center into a multitude of possible futures. So your will is a help, but you have to trust that your will take you where you need to go and will turn onto another road or highway when it needs to, when you need it to. All right? And so the next card, the 6th card, is friends or adversaries. And my friend drew the 5 of Swords and said, oh man, I really don't know now. I really don't know now. What is this saying? Well, the Five of Swords does talk about disagreements and difficulties and losses and picking up the pieces afterwards. But the type of issues the Five of Swords is dealing with is petty issues, at least on one side. And then you have to decide how you're going to deal with that, how you're going to deal with it, what you're going to do about it, how you are going to meet your needs in this pettiness. And you've asked about the energies in relation to your home. And this card is about the energies in relation to your home in matters of friends or adversaries. And so in some ways, this is a good thing. The friends or adversaries around this particular home life, the energy in the home where you are now, is nothing more than petty issues. So here it's saying, you know, the adversaries that you might have in this space, this small and petty, you can decide what to do with that. You can decide in those sorts of issues to engage or not engage. It's what you will make of it. What we will make of it. And so largely this spread has talked to specifically what's actually been asked. What are the energies in relation to this home? But there's messages and information in here about the fact that this isn't actually what you're looking for in terms of answers. But know that this is a full lifelong journey and adventure that you've chosen until you choose to get off of it and go on a different one. That there are options and alternatives. You have the options and alternatives of returning to your roots and what you know. It's an option and alternative. It's there and it's present. And you have stability in this place, which gives you a lot of choice and freedom. If you have stability in this place, you have stability to either stay or to leave. But with the Four, we know that this is a stability you don't trust or have faith in. And because of that, you aren't able to rest here. And what you really need to understand is that stay or leave, this is about your will. There's nothing else that's going to drive you off of this place. There is nothing other than typical neighborly, petty adversaries. What is the aftermath? My friend was legitimately concerned. The aftermath is the Seven of Swords. And it says, what does this mean? Careful not to burn my bridges. Should I be concerned about trust issues? Do I need an escape plan? You know, one of the guidebooks my friend uses is the Next World Tarot, which talks about escape. I have the Next World Tarot. I was like, yeah, the Next World Tarot talks about escape. But it's not talking about an escape plan. It's talking about escape as an avoidance. And this is one of the things about the Seven of Swords when we're talking about honesty and things being below the board and stuff. That's all matters of avoidance, but we're talking about avoidance. And the aftermath is avoidance. The aftermath of this reading is you don't have your answers because you avoided asking the question. And so this is the answer that we see. And we're going to look at the next reading And I'm pretty sure that the puff being passed around is going to be shared this way as well. Alright, so the next reading that my friend does, oh, and this is, can you see this here? When the cards are down? My postcard from the Gentle Tarot. I framed it up. And I have it sitting here. It will one day have a better home. We're building a tiny home. We're now in a tiny trailer. We'll have a bit more space. Okay, so the next reading, my friend pulls an oracle card, and it's from the Celtic Tree Oracle, which is a beautiful deck. I've seen other people use it. I don't have it. And the my friend pulls, the tree my friend pulls is heather mistletoe. And my friend says this talks about spiritual development, connection to spirit, heal via connection, meditate, dream, self-truth. And says maybe this is talking about I need to read this to-do list that I pulled with a spiritual mind. I'm going to strongly suggest that self-truth stands out here in a really non-obvious way to yourself when you're reading for yourself and you've asked a question that isn't the question you actually are looking for. But the answers are here. The answers are here. There's a to-do list. And so, I'll have another after. The to-do list starts with the 10 of Wands. My friend says, I'm not sure, hard work, too many elements in life. I would say, yeah. And, you know, sometimes you need to prioritize those. Which ones am I going to take on? To-do list number 1 could be what issues, what are responsibilities are you going to take on right now in your to-do list for your home? Prioritize it. You can't do everything. And one of the things that is taking up a lot of mental and emotional space is worrying about whether or not you are going to live in this home in 20 or 30 years. Or even 10 years. Worrying about a home you might move away from in, say, 10 or 15 years, that's 10 or 15 years in that home. That's a really serious chunk of life, especially as a parent. That's like, you know, the majority of the child's time at home in your home. So, that's worrying about whether or not you're still going to live there in 10 to 15 years is a burden you should put down. Worrying about if you're going to live there in 5 years is probably a burden you should put down until you actually start to feel strongly like you'd like to move somewhere else. And you know what? Putting the efforts into your home like you're going to stay there and put down roots will benefit you if you do decide to stay or put down roots. Or it will benefit whoever lives there next and wants to stay and put down roots because you've done 10 or 15 years of work of putting down the things you need to stay and put down roots. It will be a benefit to them, which, you know, assuming you're selling the home, will be a financial benefit to you also. It will also be a benefit when you move because you will have had the experience of things you did to put down roots somewhere and will know how to do it in the next place you stay and plan to put down roots. You will have had that practice run. And so either way, it's beneficial to put down the burden of worrying about whether or not you're going to do it and just live in the home you're in at this moment and take on what responsibilities you need to take on in this moment in this home. 2. To-do list number 2. 3 of Pence. My friend says, I think this is about being called back to dance, that maybe this is what it's about. I've pulled other cards telling me to get back to dance. I can see seeing the 3 of Pentacles as being pulled back to dance. It would be in certain cases. Wouldn't always be that. It's about being somebody who is accredited or professional in their field, having a teacher or mentor, someone to look up to, hiring a professional. So as a to-do list in your home, I would say this card is about hiring a professional for certain things in your home. Also, if it is related to dance, because you feel as a person drawing this card and doing this reading that this is about dance, then I am going to say this is about one of 2 things. Get a professional to build your dance space and be the teacher. Which would be why you should have it done by a professional. And maybe you're not going to be the teacher right away, but this card's about teachers and hiring professionals. So hire a professional to build that dance space. And build it with the fact in mind that you might want to use that dance space as a teacher. Okay. So card number 3. To-do number 3. My friend pulls the Empress. Oh, I'm blinded. I'm not seeing it. There we go. Okay. And my friend says, I think this is about connecting with women in my family. I'm not sure why that's a to-do list on your home. But that's clearly something in your heart. But the Empress is about connecting to yourself. It's about connecting to your own feminine energy. It's about connecting to the earth. If anything, as a to-do list, it's about making sure there's time to connect with yourself on the land you're on, and to garden. This is a gardening card. This is an absolutely 100% heavy gardening card. This is about those deities and goddesses who are responsible for growth and springtime and fertility and things bursting forth and growing out of the earth and are all being green. And it's about you connecting to that. It's about you connecting to that. And I'm going to say, if you believe you do need to connect with other women in your family, when you see this card as a to-do list on your home, that this also calls to mind who rules your nest. Is it still your parents, or is it you? And this reminds me of seeing in the earlier reading, you have options. The traditions of everything you grew up with, you have these options. But you chose an adventure course. And you maybe feel that adventure course has led you away from the women in your family and that you need to connect with them. But this is about connecting to you, to your motherness, deityness, goddessness, gardener, you know, like being of the earth and growth and all of that. All that energy. Dig in deep into your gardens as a to-do list for your home. Alright. And the last card here is 5, the Hierophant. And my friend says, what is the Hierophant doing there? I don't understand the Hierophant's role here. I mean, spiritual foundation. This is dig spiritual roots, create a spiritual tradition. This, if anything, pulls back to the Celtic Tree Oracle card, and you know, you saying that you needed to read this with spiritual in mind. So create a spiritual connection in as your to home do list. And I think these readings really say, for one thing, this isn't about whether you're staying or you're going at some unknown possible time in the future. As a maybe, you might one day decide to do something different. This is about what you are doing right now. But you're also not asking the questions that you want us to answer. And so we are going to do that. We are going to use the Gentle Tarot and do a decision spread. And I'm going to do this spread. I do it for decisions, but here's the deal. This spread doesn't usually say choose A or choose B. The spread often says, like, these are the two paths. Here's a look at these two paths. And now decide. And I think maybe what my friend needs is just to look at these two paths and to take in the message from these cards about, you know, things to do to focus where you are right now. To focus where you are right now. Alright? Okay, so we are going to pull out the Gentle Tarot and have a look at this decision spread. So first we're going to pull a card for my friend, alright? And it's just going to represent them looking at these two options. Them looking at these two options looks like what? Alright. Them looking at these two options looks like the Seven of Stones. And, whew, yeah, you know, in the Seven of Stones, you know, I've come pretty far. You've got 7 stones. But you're not there yet, you know, and 7 of Stones doesn't always see how far they've come, you know. They don't always see how far they come. So we are going to look at one side my friend living in this place short term, and my friend living in this place long term. The impacts, benefits, and drawbacks. I should have put that all on one page. Okay, impacts, benefits, and drawbacks. Okay, so we want to see the short term. And if they say they're short term, we see the flower of thunder. And so if they say they're short term, we will see, like, you know, it will be a decisive decision if they don't stick around long term. If they stay short term, when the decision to leave will be, it will be decisive. It will be in the moment, because at that moment it will just be because. And this isn't saying it is going to be short term. This is saying if you leave in the short term, it will be a really, really decisive decision. All right? And if you stay in the long term, we have the Ten of Wands. And this card talks about, you know, it'll be a really long journey if you stay here long term. And there will be, you know, always more things that you do, building and creating and putting down roots, and you will do it passionately. But you will need to be careful not to carry all of that burden yourself. You will need to remember that, you know, you are doing this and putting down roots for yourself and for a family. And, you know, as that family grows, everybody is able to take on that work. And if you stay long term, to remember that this is a job beyond you. All right. And that's always the same in life. So that's unchanged. But it's something you'll really need to remember, that this isn't just your work to do. This is a work that belongs to your whole household. All right? It really belongs to your whole household. So let's look at the impacts of staying short term and the impacts of staying long term. So the impacts of staying short term is, I'm going to pull the next card too, the impacts of staying long term. So the impacts of staying short term, we're seeing are, they're clear and they're concise. They would be clear and concise. The impacts of staying short term are clear and concise. You pick up, you pack up, and you start over. It's clear and concise. You can just live without the work of putting down roots if you purposefully stay short term, and if you live with that in mind. Of course, you would want to know that really where you want to go, because that's all you will ever have put down, right? The impacts of staying long term is the Root of Cups. So the impact of staying long term is the Root of Cups, the roots of emotion. And I think it's really as simple as that. The roots of emotion. Why is the Emperor card 4, the option and alternative that you left behind, but you could always go back to, because it's an emotional root. It's an emotional root created for you by your parents. And the impacts of staying long-term is you create emotional roots. You create emotional roots for your family. So what are the benefits of staying short-term? We can see that the long-term option carries more weight, but it has more benefits. If you only plan to stay somewhere short-term, you don't build those things though, and you have to stay in a place where you're constantly on the ball and clear and thinking about things. So this is the benefits of staying short-term. And the benefits of staying short-term is the Four of Thunder. You won't worry about the things you need to do, and you will rest more. And probably because you will have made a decision. Hey, I've made a decision. I can rest from this. I'm okay with this. Alright? And the benefit of staying long-term is the Five of Cups. The Five of Cups as a benefit. You know, the Five of Cups as a benefit is having the opportunity and the ability to really feel the spilled cups before you get up and carry on. To really feel your emotions. And we're not seeing that in this card here, which is the Four of Thunder. We're just seeing a rest from worries and concerns. I'm going to let go. But that's not necessarily dealing with things. And this is saying the long-term impacts, the roots, probably with the roots of emotions, is you have the ability to instead take the time and really feel all those emotions you're going to feel in life. Not just to relax and coast through them, but to really feel so that you can like pick up and move on. Which is, you know, what we're directed to do in the Five of Cups, is to feel and validate those feelings so that you can pick up and move on. And so what we're seeing here is you have, you know, more work to do, but with, you know, rooted emotions, you also, you know, have the ability to sit down and be with those spilt cups before you pick up and carry on. So I see a benefit of being able to dig into an experience and carry on from all your emotions, right? That's what I see. So then we want to see the drawbacks of staying short term. And so for the drawbacks of staying short term, what we see is the Two of Stones. You need to find this continual balance. Because you will balance things without putting down roots where you are, and then you will pick up and move on. Will you keep balancing things there too, or will you put down roots there? If you put down roots, you can always dig them up and transplant them. Which I feel is, you know, the messages from before. So what are the drawbacks of staying long term? you know, are planning to stay long term. Where are the drawbacks? The drawbacks, I think, long term is the root of wands. And, you know, you'll always find a passionate project. And so you might feel like this a lot. The drawback is you're always going to find another passionate project to dig in and create these roots. And feel all these emotions. And it's going to feel like you always have another project that you're carrying. So you might need to figure out how to go from root, you know, the 10 to the root to the queen or king, where, which here is the flower and the harvest. To balance that out. And to remember that it's a whole family project. It's not just for your benefit. It's for everybody. So share up that workload. If it's for community, share up that workload. But that's your biggest drawback, is that, you know, there's always going to be another project to take on. But if you put down roots somewhere else, eventually that will be the case here, too. And then here we have, the drawback is you're constantly balancing, because you haven't created roots. You just have a plant you're trying to keep alive without much root system, right? And, you know, you can relax and not worry about the things you might need to do to this home to prepare it for your life later on. But eventually, you're going to need to do that. Whether you do it now or in 5, 10, 15, 20 years when you move, you're still going to need to do it. You can just relax and not worry about it now. But you will have to worry about it at some point. And the impact is, you know, you just find that quiet space, and have that clarity of knowing I don't need to think about what I need to do here, because this is not where I'm setting down my roots. I'm going to do that at some other point later on in life. Right? If you do make the decision, though, ultimately it's going to be a decision that comes with this intense clarity where you just know that it's time to move. So prepare for all these possibilities. Because if it is time to move, you will just do it. And as you're the 7 of Stones, looking ahead at these 2 possibilities, you don't really know. You're not going to really know how you're going to feel at the 8 or the 9 or the 10 of Stones. You have to live the 7 of Stones moment to its fullest till you reach the 8 of Stones, the 9 of Stones, the 10 of Stones. What you want to build and create is a home life. So build and create it where you are. And if you move, you will transplant it and build and create it somewhere else at that point. But right now, you're here. And so this is where you need to work on things right now. This is where right now what you need to do is put down the irrelevant burdens of, but will I be here to appreciate it in 10 or 20 years? Somebody will be. And you will have the benefits of that anyhow. And, sorry, they seem to be mixed up a bit. Spend the time where you are right now getting certain things built with, accredited or professional help. Someone who really knows what they're doing. You are going to appreciate that in the long run. And if this is about dance, definitely do that so that you have a space where you can teach, because that's what this card is about, teaching accreditation. Connect with your divine feminine on the land you're on. Connect with the divine feminine on the land you are on. And create a spiritual structure for yourself there. Alright? And that is the reading for my friend and the latest tarot help reading session. If you're interested in tarot help and you have a tarot reading that you have done that you are struggling to answer and you're not really certain about, you can email me at Auntie K's Insights, AUNTYKINSIGHTS@gmail.com, and I will put it in the description. And you send me the reading you did, what the questions are, the cards, and what you did understand of the reading, what you think about the reading. You have to have some thoughts there in the reading. We will have a brief discussion about it, and then I will continue forward and do the reading and unpack it for you on video. And you will be referred to as my friend so that the whole world doesn't know all your personal business. And you can see me back here for this and other things on Auntie K's Insights. I will talk to you later, folks.